First came the rumors, then some leaked screenshots, then some leaked videos, and now an entire installable build of Windows 11 has been leaked, and you better believe that I installed it to try it out. That's exactly what we're going to be looking at today. If you want to go right to the part where I get into the OS, I'll put the time here and also timestamps in the descriptions so you can see different points where I do installing the process and also the desktop environment, that sort of thing. Otherwise though, here is a bit of context first. So this leaked build is build number 21996 and it's release number 210529. From my understanding, you can essentially think of the build like the version number, and the release, I'm not super sure what that is, but I believe it has to do with something, the date of when it was compiled. For example, 210529, that corresponds to 2021 May 29th, and that pretty much lines up exactly with the May 30th date that's in the installer that you'll see in a second, so that kind of makes sense. Now, for those wondering, no, I'm not going to give you the link or tell you where to download this because of questionable legality, although if you do go out and find it yourself, I'll at least put the hashes here of the original I downloaded, so you can at least verify that the one you download is the same exact one that I got, and there's not going to be any fake ones out there that has a virus in it or something like that. You can check it yourself. Anyway, back to more context. The official Windows 11 announcement was not supposed to happen until June 24th at 11 a.m. Eastern time. So Windows 11, 11 a.m., get it? So that's really when you're going to have to wait till to get all the details. But don't worry, Windows 10 is not going to be going away anytime soon. In at least one article on ZDNet, the author journalist said, from what I've heard from my contacts, Microsoft will continue to support the existing Windows 10 product with a Windows 10 21H2 release this fall. So it looks like Windows 10 is at least going to get a major update this fall, and they could keep still doing some updates after that even. And as for when Windows 11 will be released, the author also said, heard Microsoft will likely make Windows 11 available to OEM partners this month or next, and release it to the mainstream user base this fall. So probably we'll be able to install it fall if you want to. And the OEM release will be for computer manufacturers who want to get ready and be able to install it on their computers. Although who knows, they might release the OEM version of it to anyone who wants to install it. We don't know. In any case though, Microsoft is still committed to supporting Windows 10 until 2025 like they originally said. And on their website, they have said that it will reach an end of life in around October 2025. So still quite a bit of time if you want to keep using it. All right, so now let's go and finally try out this build. But real quick, I do want to emphasize that this does not appear to be a final build or even anything close to it. It seems like this release might be one that just has the new interface, but not necessarily any of the new features added, because a lot of times different teams will work on different releases simultaneously. So this might be from a team that was just working on the interface and therefore might not have all the other stuff. Just keep that in mind. But with that being said, let's get into it and check it out. So first, let's quickly go over what the installation process looks like in the out-of-box experience. I'll quickly go through this because it basically is exactly the same. So we'll just boot into the CD, and this is the new logo. So you'll see it's a square, not a trapezoidal looking thing. We got the same exact looking installer stuff in here. And here you can see all the different versions. It looks like they're keeping the same naming convention: Home, Education, Pro, Pro for workstations, that sort of thing. I'm just going to do Windows 11 Pro, x64. We'll do a new, fresh install with a new partition. Created those, and I'll just skip right through this and basically until it's finished. All right, so we are in, and this is the out-of-box experience. When you first boot it up, this is what you'll see. Country origin, yes. It's going to probably ask the keyboard. Yep. Don't want a second keyboard. It's going to check for updates. You can choose work or school, personal use. All right, now here's where it's going to imply that you need to have a Microsoft account. You can do that, or you can actually use an offline account. If you go to sign in options, and here, offline account, local account, that's what I'm going to do. So I don't want to do a Microsoft account, although that will limit some things. We'll see later. And yeah, I want a limited experience. I want a local account. It's going to keep bugging you, so it's even better. Use an online account. No. Again, password, we'll just do 1234. Security questions, just type it in random. Privacy settings, you get the usual stuff. I'm just going to disable it. I'm not going to read it. It looks nice, though. It's a pretty nice looking interface, I must say. And then it says it's going to get ready and take you into the desktop. And here we are. I'm going to quickly fix the resolution and that sort of stuff, and I'll come back. All right, so this is Windows 11. The first thing you'll notice, you probably have seen this before, people talking about it, the start button and all the stuff on the taskbar is centered. So you click the start button, which is now a square right in the middle, and it pops up this as the new start menu. And you can change this, by the way, I'll show you that in a second, to align it to the left again. But basically, instead of the live tiles, you now have these pinned icons. I don't know how I feel about this. I kind of preferred the live tiles because you could arrange it more. Here you can rearrange stuff and unpin it, of course, but it all is kind of like the desktop where it all has to be one row, two row. You can't drag it like down to the bottom and pin it down here or something like that wherever you want, but we'll see how they change that. The all apps, if you want to see all the apps, you have to click a separate thing. It's kind of spread out. I'm not sure how I feel about that too. I liked it in the Windows 10 where it was all just in the same one. You could bring up the start menu and just start scrolling if you wanted to look through all that. Now you can customize this to add some buttons at the bottom. So let me show you that real quick. So if you go to personalize settings and then start, you can say choose which folders appear on start. Let's just check them all. Now when you check all those, you bring it up, they appear down here. So you can choose which of those you want. So I think it makes way more sense to have settings and like all your different videos, whatever you want to bring it up. You can do that, and that brings us right into looking at the new Windows Explorer. So you can see the edges around it. It looks a lot more clean. By default, it'll actually look like this, where the items, even in the details menu, are kind of spread out. I didn't like that, but you can, yes, change that. So if you go to folder options and then say decrease space between items, compact view, that'll put it back to what you're used to, and that's how, of course, I prefer. One cool thing I do want to point out is the new animation. So if you expand and contract the window, you'll now notice it actually has like a whole animation. Instead of before, just kind of like teleported bigger or smaller, it does that. Another really cool thing I'll show you is if you hover over the maximize button, it brings up this panel, which allows you to easily snap the windows to different positions, pre-made positions. So if you want to put a bunch of programs in maybe all the corners, you can select each one where it's going to go. And if you have a second window open while you're doing that, it appears to actually move that as well. And then if you click into it, it'll fill in the rest of it. So I'm gonna have to explore more how exactly that works. It'll probably be more intuitive, but it does something with the other windows is my point. Let's talk a little bit more about the taskbar. So one thing you notice is that it actually has 3 lines right here. So time, it now shows the day of the week. That is something you could have in Windows 10. I actually am used to that because I use a double height taskbar that I've never seen anyone else use. But now it looks like by default, even if you have the regular height taskbar, it shows all this info. However, one thing that is really strange is you really can't customize much of the taskbar here. It has taskbar settings, but this is one reason I think this is not finished at all, because you can't even drag the taskbar to a new height. You can't move the taskbar to different sides. However, I was messing around with the registry. You can use the registry to add the taskbar to the top, although it messes up the behavior of the start menu. But if you go into the taskbar settings, you can do like show the widgets button, which is down here, which I can't show you until I go to the other computer, which has internet connection. You can remove that desktop button, which is down here, which just hides all the windows and reveals the desktop again. All the usual stuff, task view button, that's this one, which brings up just kind of windows that are active. You can remove the search button, which I didn't actually show you yet. It's basically really similar to the Windows 10 search, just a little bit more modern looking. However, if you do disable this, you can still do a search by just pressing the start button and then typing whatever, and it'll do the same thing. So you don't necessarily have to have that search menu at all. Oh, and of course, this is where you can change the alignment. Right now, it's only left and center, but here you go. It can now be on the left like you're used to, but it's the same thing. You can just have it there. But really, all the other customizations that were in Windows 10, like being able to have these expand out, you can't do anymore. So really limited. I think this is probably a limited build. I do not think it has all the features, especially because you right click on the taskbar. Literally, this is the only setting. I'd be surprised if this was it in the final version. Let's look through the personalization a bit. It's pretty similar to what you see in Windows 10. I mean, you can see all the different new backgrounds that are included. So they're kind of cool. Different colors. We can choose like dark theme, but we can put that back for now. Then lock screen, the only difference I notice here is you can have Windows Spotlight, which I believe is going to change the picture for each day. So I think that's just a difference here. This was a feature that was going to be in Windows 10, but I think it got delayed or something. Everything else pretty much looks similar. This is all the same as Windows 10 basically. One new thing is this device usage menu where it basically lets you choose what you're going to be using the computer for, but this only seems to be making a difference for the different tips and notifications you'll get. I don't think it really makes a difference for what features are enabled, so I'm probably just going to keep all these disabled when Windows 10 or 11 finally comes around because I don't care about getting tips. Some more things I was curious about, so I opened them up, is like the task manager. It looks like the same feature set as Windows 10 and stuff. Again, it's just a more modernized window. I mean, it's nice, but no new features or anything here. And that seems to be basically the story with Windows 11 so far. Is it's basically just a reskin of Windows 10, but there's not really any new features. There are a couple that I'll point out, a few changes in the settings that I'll get to, but most of the stuff I noticed is exactly the same. There is the control panel still. Let me see if I can remember how to get to it. If you go down to Windows Tools, this will bring up a bunch of the old programs you're used to, including the control panel. So actually a lot of these programs are in the control panel, so it's a bit redundant, but you got the registry editor. I mean, you could of course search for all this stuff. So if you just type in regedit, that'll come up as well. But all that stuff is in here. So control panel, again, basically like you're used to, although they did update the icons and stuff, which is really cool. In the actual menus, it seems like all the stuff is still the same icons, just like on the surface here. They changed it. Who knows? Maybe they'll be updating the inner stuff as well. But yeah, all the other stuff you're used to, like the change adapter settings. Yeah, the Windows Explorer changed and stuff, but the icons inside it, the same. Speaking of Windows Explorer, one thing you probably noticed is the feature that I've been waiting for forever. No tabs in Windows Explorer. Really? How long have we been wanting this and it's not even a thing? Come on. A couple new settings I noticed. There were not many, but I did notice a few and read about a few. If you go into storage and then go to manage disks and volumes, this is new. So this is basically a more modern version of Disk Manager, which is still in here. So this is the disk management that you're probably used to in Windows 10 and really since like XP. But this is basically a more modern version of it. I would personally not use this. I would rather just have more details and stuff from disk management. But if you wanted to go in and reformat a partition or something, you could do that. Explore, it'll open it up. That's the main drive. Properties, you can change the size of the partition. You can add a path, so it's a virtual path. Basically, you can change the label here. But again, I mean, this is kind of oversimplified. I would probably just keep rather using this, but it is something that is new. And actually, I remembered you have to be connected to the internet to see the next setting. So I'm going to switch over to the other virtual machine that I am connected to the internet on. All right, so now we're in the virtual machine where it is connected to the internet and I am logged in with a Microsoft account. The reason I have a separate one is because in this one, it tried to activate and did not, so I couldn't have shown you the customization features like moving the stuff over, but now I can show you, because I am connected to the internet, some features that require that, such as the widgets. I'll reload that, should come up now. Yes, so here is the widgets panel, which at the moment appears to be exactly the same as the news and interests panel that was just added to Windows 10. However, I am very hopeful that they'll, actually add more widgets than that, because I do not care about the crap news that they add on this page. I mean, it's all garbage. Like, I do not care about People Magazine, okay? Anyway, so you can get the weather though, money markets, NBA, sports, whatever. You can customize that. I'm really hoping they'll allow you to add more, maybe customize it, maybe download some additional widgets, stuff like that. Another thing that I can show you is now that I'm connected to the internet, it shows you a lot more apps. And I believe these are not actually installed necessarily, but they're just kind of here. So if you click on it, see how it has that loading thing. So it's bloatware that wasn't at least installed, but it'll start installing once you try to click on it. So just kind of be aware of that if you don't want to actually install that stuff. Also, now that I'm connected to the internet, I can show you the other thing I was going to show you in the network and internet. If you go to properties, now you can actually enable encrypted DNS. So let's just type in a random one and it says encrypted DNS over HTTPS. Now this is a feature that is expected to be added to Windows 10 as well, but I'm just pointing out that it is included in this build of Windows 11, so it'll probably be shipped with it. So that's kind of cool, encrypted DNS. Another thing that you'll notice is when you first load up the start menu, you'll see this get started. I think it'll give you some tips, so get started, whatever. And I like, though, how it still shows the Windows 10 start menu and stuff, so I'm sure they'll update that. It says your files are already here, so that definitely hints that this will be a upgrade, not something you have to custom install. Obviously, it does include the new Microsoft Edge, which is the one that is Chromium based. Also, here's a funny thing. If you go into the updates, there's actually an update available, but it says cumulative update.net for Windows 10 version next. I think I've seen this before, like if you have Windows Insider and stuff, but it's just kind of funny. But this does kind of show that it basically is running on Windows 10. It's just kind of a reskin, and that's pretty much confirmed. It's still using the Windows 10 kernel, but they're just kind of calling it Windows 11. Another couple of settings menus I noticed, which appear to be new from Windows 10, is this screenshot borders and screenshots and apps menus in the privacy menu. I don't know what this exactly is for. It's referring to these borders for screenshots. I don't know what this is. I've not seen that. This might be a feature that is not actually in here yet, but it talks about allowing access to see if apps can not show a border when they take a screenshot. Now, there is the snip and sketch tool, but that doesn't show any kind of border. So it seems like at some point in Windows 11, they're going to add the ability for apps to be able to take screen captures and the screenshots, and it's going to add some kind of border, maybe to show whose computer it is, stuff like that, and you'll be able to disable that. We'll have to see. That's kind of interesting that I don't know what this is talking about. And this one seems really similar too, which apps can capture arbitrary windows or screenshots of various windows. Like, I don't know what this is. This almost seems like a half-done settings menu, but it's definitely something to keep an eye on, what they're talking about with these screen capture borders or whatever when that finally goes in. Now, I did want to dig a little bit deeper, and this is the Windows 11 Pro version, so that has access to the group policy editor. So I wanted to see if there were any new group policy editors settings, which usually kind of reveals settings that might not be necessarily in the GUI, and there are a few that are new. Computer configuration definitely had the most differences. One is in computer, and then Windows Sandbox. This entire folder here appears to be new. So a lot more customization with the Windows Sandbox, allow audio input in the sandbox, allow clipboard sharing, networking, printer, vGPU, video input. I don't know if all this stuff was still possible in the original Windows 10 sandbox, and there was just not a group policy setting for it, but that is something that is new and notable. Also, if you go to app package deployment, the new one in here is archive infrequently used apps, and this says controls whether the system can archive infrequently used apps. And I think this has to do with the App Store. They're really going to be pushing for the App Store to be able to manage apps and stuff. So if you haven't used one in a while, then maybe this will allow you to, maybe it'll compress them or uninstall them, but keep the settings, that sort of thing. Here's another entirely new folder under Windows Components, Human Presence. They are called Force Instant Lock, Force Instant Wake, Lock Timeout. It seems like these are basically just for a security policy. You can instantly wake up a device or log it, stuff like that, if it detects that someone's there or not. Another one I noticed is Prevent Lock Screen Background Motion. Basically, it looks like you're going to be able to have a little bit of motion on the lock screen. Pretty subtle, so that'll be kind of cool. So yeah, those are the ones that are new that appear to just be kind of notable. I didn't go over every single one. There were some other minor ones that didn't seem like a big deal, but yeah. The final thing I want to point out is that the Microsoft Store looks exactly the same. I believe they are supposed to be working on a new version, which is supposed to be a pretty big deal, but I guess that didn't make it into this particular build, and that definitely hints at me that this is not really close to even being a final build of Windows 11, and I'll explain why that is in a minute. It really only seems like a beta where the only changes in this one are the interface, like the skin of it. There's not really any new features in here. But that being said, I mean, there are obviously a lot of significant changes in the interface with the rounded corners, the animations, stuff like that, the taskbar. It just looks a lot different. So now let's go back and talk a little bit more about it. Alright, so overall, my impression is that this release doesn't seem so much like a new version of Windows, but more like a redesign. And in my opinion, there is no way that this can be everything that they're adding into Windows 11, and here's why I think that. In relation to that Windows 11 announcement coming up, the Microsoft CEO has said the following. He says, "Soon we will share one of the most significant updates to Windows of the past decade to unlock greater economic opportunity for developers and creators. I've been self-hosting it for the past several months, and I'm incredibly excited about the next generation of Windows. Our promise to you is this: we will create more opportunity for every Windows developer today and welcome every creator who is looking for the most innovative new open platform to build and distribute and monetize applications. We look forward to sharing more very soon." And there's a couple key phrases in here I want to emphasize that seem like very ambitious statements. For example, unlock greater economic opportunity for developers and creators. Another one, create more opportunity for every Windows developer today. That certainly does not seem like a basic redesign and reskin of Windows 10 like this build seems to be. Now, we do know that Microsoft has been working on revamping and completely redoing the Microsoft App Store, which, let's be honest, it kind of sucked. And I think that's what he's talking about here. It could mean that if there's actually a really good App Store in Windows, then that could mean that, new developers who make good software and stuff like that will be able to get users more likely to download it because it'll be a good app store people use and download from. So it seems like this new app store is going to be a very big deal and a central part of Windows 11. Therefore, if such a big central feature of Windows 11 isn't included in this leaked build, logic kind of dictates you could expect that a lot of other lesser features probably aren't in there too, but will end up in the final version as well. And honestly, this leak almost seems too perfect and convenient for Microsoft. There's not really any new features leaked, only a redesign that we kind of already seen before. If I had a shinier tinfoil hat, I might have even said that Microsoft intentionally leaked this out for buzz. I mean, shortly after the leak, the Windows Twitter account did tweet out, "This is just the start," and it says tune in on June 24th to see what's next. So there really better be more to Windows 11 than is just what is in this build. Otherwise, I certainly wouldn't upgrade in its current state what I just saw. There's not really any reason to. But again, I am going to absolutely reserve judgment till the 24th, and then we could talk about it after that. I would love to know what you guys' thoughts are. Are you excited about this redesign? Are there any things you hate about it and would absolutely not upgrade for that reason? For me personally, maybe the start menu might be a big sticking point. If you guys want to keep watching, the next video I'd recommend is talking about the new Windows Package Manager that was just released. You can click on that right there, and that is available in Windows 10. You don't have to have Windows 11 to get it. Very exciting stuff. Also, be sure to like the video if you guys enjoyed this, and be sure to subscribe because I try to make new videos at least twice a week, so should be worth it. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you in that next video.